Let me tell you something about the game of life, and it starts where the world least expects, in the silence before the storm. Because when you see global headlines screaming the U.S. is backing Pakistan, the world hears politics. But the wise, they hear opportunity knocking at India's door. They hear challenge. They hear destiny turning its wheels. Some folks panic. Some run for cover. But then there's India. Oh, India doesn't flinch, it recalibrates. And that's where you better lean in, because what's about to unfold isn't just foreign policy. It's personal, it's spiritual, it's legacy-driven. See, when a country like the U.S. backs someone, it ain't charity. It's chess, it's data, money, military logistics, and mutual leverage. But let me break this down in a way even a man sweeping the streets of Delhi can understand. They're investing in a bet, and the bet right now is on Pakistan. But just because somebody bets on the horse don't mean the horse is gonna win. Don't get caught up in the glitz of headlines. That's surface tension. That's drama to sell airtime. You want to know where real power lies. It's in patience, in principle, in preparation, and that's the soil India's been tilling for years. So now America's flying in and out of Islamabad like it's a new TikTok trend. Military advisors here, trade discussions there, intelligence chatter everywhere. They're rebuilding an old bridge they once set fire to, and let me tell you, bridges built in desperation don't last long in monsoon rains. But why now? Why back Pakistan when their economy's on a respirator and their politics flip more than pancakes on a Sunday morning? Because it's not about Pakistan's strength, it's about America's strategy. It's about China lurking in the region. It's about the Afghanistan fallout. It's about maintaining a foothold near Central Asia. That's it. It ain't love. It's leverage. And here's where most people get it twisted. They think backing equals belief. But backing often means bargaining. And ain't nobody out here doing charity work in the 21st century geopolitics. Not even the most righteous sounding democracies. Now here's the twist. India saw it coming, and India, it ain't clapping back on Twitter. It ain't whining in press conferences. No, sir. India does what winners do, it builds. Silently, strategically, steadily, because you don't respond to noise with noise. You respond with results. And that's where the world's about to get the shock of its lifetime. Because while America's betting on reaction, India's preparing for revolution. Not war, not chaos, but reinvention. A reinvention of its role on the global stage. While others are begging for alliances, India is becoming the alliance. Let me say that again for the folks in the back sipping tea and watching the news. India is becoming the alliance. It's turning itself into a partner no one can ignore. While deals are being signed in back rooms, India is building frontline infrastructure, quantum labs, AI battalions, space command centers, and indigenous defense systems. That ain't a counterattack, that's evolution. You ever watch a tiger, it doesn't bark. It doesn't growl at every little squirrel. It reserves energy, it watches, and when it moves it's decisive, it's elegant, and it changes the entire balance of the jungle. That's India right now. The tiger don't roar in meetings. It roars in the results, and every satellite launched, every indigenous jet fighter deployed, every foreign policy handshake without dependency, that's a roar. You want to know what India's response is to the U.S. backing Pakistan? It ain't anger, it's independence, it's acceleration, it's the quiet fury of one. 4 billion dreams being reassembled into a vision. A vision that doesn't beg to be included, it creates the space others want to be included in. That's the difference between reacting out of insecurity and responding out of vision. So let the world analyze drone deals, track port constructions, and speculate over border talks. Meanwhile, India is investing in youth, in coding villages, in defense startups, in naval power stretching from the Arabian Sea to the South China Sea. Let me break it down to you simple. When the lights come on in the theater, people will realize the show they were watching wasn't the real story. The real story was being written in the dark, in boardrooms of Bengaluru, in test fields in Hyderabad, in missile silos in Odisha, and in the minds of young Indian engineers staying up all night not for grades but for greatness. Now you might ask, why's the U.S. not backing India instead? Oh, but they are, just not all the way, because backing a country like India ain't cheap. It means surrendering influence. It means dealing with a power that negotiates on equal footing. And power doesn't like that. Power likes puppets. India doesn't do strings. It does sovereignty. That's uncomfortable for the old world. But that discomfort, that's India's leverage, and look, this ain't about hating Pakistan. No, sir. Every country deserves a shot. Every nation deserves dignity, but geopolitics ain't therapy. It's terrain, and India isn't going to sit back and let short-term strategies redefine long-term legacies. Not this India, not the one that's rising from poverty into purpose, from chaos into clarity, from partition into power. Now let's be real. This ain't the India of 1991 begging the IMF for a loan. This is the India of 2025 closing multi-billion-dollar tech contracts, hosting G20 summits, and rewriting rules of digital infrastructure the West still doesn't fully understand. You blink, and India's space economy just launched another satellite constellation. You blink again, and Indian naval fleets just inked a new security pact with Africa. You blink a third time, and Indian startups have created a payment system so powerful, even Europe wants to license it. That's not growth, that's momentum, and momentum beats muscle any day of the week. So when you hear about the U.S. throwing its weight behind Pakistan, don't panic, don't scream betrayal, smile, because power never backs what it respects, it backs what it wants to control. And India can't be controlled anymore. It can only be partnered with on equal terms. That's why this new world ain't going to be shaped in Washington or Beijing. It's going to be shaped in the decisions made in Delhi, in the resilience of Kashmirists choosing peace over provocation, in the resolve of the Indian scientist developing the next generation of autonomous defense, in the humility of a farmer using drone analytics to optimize his crop yield. That's India's response. It ain't a slap. It's a statement. This world, it's run by countries who own their narrative, and for too long India let others tell its story. Colonial powers wrote its intro. Allies edited its chapters. Neighbors tried to black out its paragraphs. But now, India's holding the pen, and it ain't writing in ink. It's writing in innovation, infrastructure, ideology, and identity. Unshakable, unbuyable, undeniable identity. And let me say this to every young person watching, listening, or reading, whether you live in a small alley of Calcutta or in the heart of Mumbai's skyline. The game is on. And it's not about what the U.S. backs. It's about what you build. Because this nation's true response to global politics ain't in press releases. It's in its people. It's in the students coding the next defense protocol. It's in the mothers raising sons who choose policy over protest. It's in the visionaries who see beyond the noise of alliances and straight into the architecture of a new civilization. So let the headlines talk. Let the alliances shift. Let the analysts speculate. The only thing India's got its eyes on is destiny, and when it arrives, it won't come wrapped in flags or bombs. It'll come wrapped in ideas, in dignity, in self-made power. That's how India shocks the world, not with a scream, but with a silence so powerful it humbles even the loudest thunder, because real power doesn't ask for validation. It becomes the standard. It marked the birth of India's assertive military doctrine backed by innovation. This isn't a battle of countries, it's a battle of mindsets, and India's mindset just leveled up. You see, for decades, India's role in global affairs had been interpreted through the lens of restraint. Quiet, diplomacy, defensive strategies, non-alignment posturing. These weren't weaknesses. These were foundational principles in a world where aggression often drowned out wisdom. But somewhere along the line, the world confused patience for passivity. It mistook silence for submission. It thought that a country with 4 billion voices would always speak last. And that, right there, is the mistake they'll regret. Because what's unfolding now isn't a spontaneous reaction. It's a strategic awakening. India has leveled up not because someone provoked it, but because the time had come. There's a seismic shift happening, not just in arsenals and budgets, but in belief systems. The Indian military no longer operates with outdated manuals and Cold War-era hesitations. It's rethinking how force is applied, how deterrence is established, and how sovereignty is communicated without firing a single shot. The doctrine of the past was survival. The doctrine of the future, dominance through innovation, and that scares people, not because India is threatening, but because India is now too intelligent to be ignored, too self-reliant to be controlled, and too focused to be distracted. This mindset shift doesn't scream for validation. It creates results that command attention. When India started integrating AI into defense intelligence, the conversation changed. When homegrown ballistic missiles reached further than predicted, the calculations shifted. When India launched coordinated cyber defense command structures, the threats evolved. This isn't just about hardware. This is about a software revolution in military thinking where wars aren't just won on battlegrounds, but in classrooms, code bases, and startup incubators. This is the kind of power that doesn't come from buying weapons, but from building systems, from fostering minds, from believing that true defense is not about reacting to a bullet, but predicting it before it's fired. The older global powers, they're still trapped in the metrics of the past. Troop counts, aircraft carriers, number of tanks. But India's playing in a new arena. The arena of quantum supremacy, space militarization, cognitive warfare, autonomous combat systems, and fifth-generation fighter jets built not with borrowed blueprints, but with national vision. It's not a copy-paste model. It's a born-again strategy. This transformation isn't just happening at the elite levels of command. It's embedded in the soldier, the scientist, the engineer, the student, because a military doctrine backed by innovation doesn't stop at borders. It trickles into education, entrepreneurship, infrastructure, and even diplomacy. India isn't standing on global stages waiting for applause. It's building those stages at home, piece by piece, so the world has no choice but to turn and listen. Now, let's talk about mindset, because mindset is everything. It's not about what you have, it's about what you do with what you have. Pakistan may get funding, they may get headlines, they may even get a few shiny toys from Uncle Sam. But mindset, that can't be imported, that has to be forged in the fires of experience, discipline, vision, and resilience. And India has paid the price for that mindset. Every war fought, every border tension endured, every policy criticized, these were not moments of defeat. These were chisels shaping a national psyche that understands both pain and purpose. A mindset that no longer defines security through the lens of what it lacks, but through the scope of what it refuses to lose. This is why America's backing of Pakistan doesn't rattle India, because India's foundation isn't rooted in foreign favor. It's built on the backs of its people, on the grit of soldiers standing on glacial heights, on the brilliance of coders in tier 2 cities writing algorithms that'll one day shield entire battalions, on the vision of policymakers who know that sovereignty isn't just about tanks, it's about data, logistics, foresight, and global positioning. This new India understands the war of perception. It knows the global stage isn't fair, that narratives are bought, that power still whispers in boardrooms in London, in strategy cells in Washington, in investment lobbies in Riyadh. But it doesn't care, because mindset says, build anyway. Mindset says, they don't have to believe in you for you to win. Mindset says, they can mock your progress until your progress buys the companies they once laughed from. That's the level up. It's not revenge, it's relevance, achieved through results, not rhetoric. What's happening now is a psychological breakthrough at a national scale. India no longer sees itself as a balancing force in Asia. It sees itself as the fulcrum, the center of digital governance, the architect of space diplomacy, the gatekeeper of Indo-Pacific stability, and it's not seeking permission to lead, it's assuming responsibility. And when a nation starts behaving like a leader before it's crowned, that's when the world realizes the crown's already been earned. This mindset goes beyond weapons. It's evident in how India trains, in how it recruits, in how it treats veterans, in how it blends the valor of tradition with the precision of technology. It's about merging the spiritual discipline of Kautilya with the cyber warfare strategies of tomorrow. It's about knowing that a drone strike can eliminate a target, but only discipline can build an army that never misses. You won't hear this in Western think tanks, because it's not loud, it's not dramatic. But it's happening. The truth is, India doesn't have to outspend other nations, it just needs to outthink them. And right now, India's thinking long, thinking deep, thinking wide. When the rest of the world was busy measuring nuclear capacity, India was ensuring nuclear command structures were secure, autonomous, and unhackable. When neighbors were flexing submarines, India was quietly expanding deep sea sensors across strategic choke points. That's mindset, planning 5 moves ahead while letting others think they're winning. And let's not forget what this mindset does to its own people. It lifts them. A young kid from Nagaland who once thought defense was just for the elite now sees a future building UAV software. A girl in Chennai who once studied mechanical engineering just for a degree now dreams of designing India's first fully indigenous stealth aircraft. That's mindset. Not looking for approval, but preparing for excellence. When you inject that into your people, they don't wait for opportunities, they create ecosystems. So let Pakistan celebrate its new spotlight. Let the world analyze the implications. But understand this: India's shock response isn't coming in a press conference. It's coming in the way it redefines deterrence. It's coming in the way it secures borders without compromising morals. It's coming in the way it uses cyber defense not just to defend, but to dissuade. Because the most dangerous nation isn't the one shouting threats. It's the one preparing solutions nobody expected. You think this is about territory? No. This is about terrain of thought. The terrain where India's mind operates high altitude, high stakes, high vision. When others were hacking each other's systems, India was building quantum encryption. When others were leaking military secrets, India was building blockchain, protected logistics chains, because mindset says don't chase noise. Build systems that silence it. And here's the most dangerous part for India's adversaries: this mindset isn't a trend, it's a movement. It's being taught in schools, in army academies, in tech labs, in think tanks. It's the culture now. Culture that respects peace, but won't hesitate to protect it with absolute decisiveness. Culture that reveres its spiritual roots, but understands the language of algorithms, satellites, and strategic deterrence. This isn't a borrowed mindset, it's an evolved one, born of necessity, sharpened by experience, supercharged by vision. The world may see India as a rising power, but what they don't understand is India doesn't see itself as rising anymore. It sees itself as ready. Ready not just to stand among giants, but to redefine what being a giant means. Not through arrogance, not through conquest, but through consistency, through innovation. Through self-respect so high, It doesn't need validation from temporary alliance, and this is why the game is shifting. Because once a nation upgrades its mindset, there's no turning back. Once a country starts thinking like a leader, even its silence is louder than its adversary's rage. Once a people start believing that excellence is their responsibility, the world has to follow, or be left behind. That's the moment we're in right now. This isn't a battle of countries. This is a battle of mindsets. And India's mindset just entered a whole new league. Tools,